say that before? Let me see your hands, please. I'm not going to stop saying that until I get inside of an audience and every single person puts up their hand. You know why I say that all the time, the magical minute? Because the first time I heard it, I heard a gentleman called Willie Jolly say that. He's written a fantastic book which is called It Only Takes a Minute to Change Your Life. And he was saying that you can do anything for a minute. And when I listened to him, he was challenging me because I used to think that change takes a long time. I thought change takes time. Oh, you give me time to change. I need to work through certain things. And he was saying you could do anything for a minute. And I began to challenge that in my mind because there were times when I was angry. There were times when I was frustrated. There was times when I was happy. There was times when I was sad. There was all different times. And I realized if I was angry, could I be happy for a minute? Could I do anything for a minute? And he started talking about the minutes are the building blocks of life. And I have based nearly everything I do on the fact that I could do something for a minute. Whatever I'm going through, I could do something. If it's something bad, I could make something good of it for at least a minute. Does that make sense? Welcome to the Dominion Center. You've had your welcomes. I'm glad you've made it this morning. I'm glad to see there are people who could have been somewhere else this morning, but you chose to be here. That's a special thing. That's an important thing. Give yourselves a round of applause. Because I'm sure there are some of you that could have been somewhere else. I'm sure there were challenges that you faced to be here today. But you've chosen to be in this room today so that you can improve yourself. Is that right? Yeah. Brother Soros spoke a while ago and he talked about you becoming what you think about. Wherever your mind hangs out, that's where you're eventually going to head up. I heard those words many years ago. My dad used to play a record called A Stranger's Secret, and it was I said a record, by the way, it was a 7-inch record. Sometimes I bring the 7-inch record out. It's a 7-inch record. For those of you who are not as old as me, you know what vinyl record is? This one was on a 7-inch. I showed this to a group of teenagers once, and one of them said, "That's a big CD." I heard those words again and again and again. You become what you think about. You become what you think about. The problem at that time when I first heard that was I was a teenager, and I was worried. I was worried. You know why I was worried? Because you know what teenage boys think about? I was worried that I wasn't going to become a young girl. Because he said you become what you think about. Now, it's true. Wherever your mind hangs out, that's where your body is going to end up. And today, whatever you're thinking about, I'm going to encourage you this morning to be where you are. And being where you are is that you're in this room today. You're in this room for a reason. You're in this room to learn. Yeah? Is anybody taking notes today? Let me see your notepads. Do me a favor, I just want you to do a quick exercise. Those of you who have notepads, just tear one sheet of paper out for me, please. No, I'm going to upset some people now. When you've torn that piece of paper out, then just hold it in the air for me. Let's see, has everybody done it yet? If there's somebody next to you and they haven't torn that page out, if you've got a diary, then don't destroy it. But then, if there's somebody next to you, they've got a notepad and they're not tearing out the page, tear it out for them. No, I don't want to fight in the place. Right. Once you've done that, what I want you to do is the talk that I give today, I'm going to speak for about 20, 25 minutes. And all of the notes you take on me today, I want you to write them on that piece of paper. And I'll tell you why I want you to write them on the piece of paper, because I work with a lot of people. I'm a trainer, I'm a coach. I help a lot of people move ahead. I build bridges. I find out where people are, I find out where they want to be, and I help them to construct a bridge to get to that place. And I find that a lot of people take notes, they go to places like this, they take notes, and you know where the notes end up? Inside of a book, on a shelf, on a desk, in a drawer, in a pile. Is anybody, not by a show of hands, anybody guilty of that? Let me see your smiles. There's a lot of motivated, educated shelves and desks in the world, because what I want you to do today is anything I say, I want you to put it on that piece of paper that you've torn out. Don't cheat and start writing in your book. And I want you to take that piece of paper and throughout the weekend, over the weekends, either the end of today or Sunday, or even, it's Bank Holiday Monday, isn't it? Am I having a barbecue? No. I want you to take your time, and I want you to choose during the next 7 days to act on the things that I tell you. Don't leave it in the book. And what I suggest is there are some fantastic people going to take to the stage today, some very good friends of mine, some really, really successful people, some learned people. I want you to take note and do exactly what I've asked you to do. Take those pages out. Do not leave them in the book. Take them out and act on them. Can I ask you to do that? I've decided that I'm not keeping any more books. The only books that I'm going to keep are the ones that I write. And my diaries. I write my diaries for my children and my children's children to learn of what I've done. But all of my notes, I tear them out and I go home and I use them. And once I use them and once I learn how to put those notes into practice, I don't need the notes anymore. So unless you're planning to write a novel, then keep writing in the book. But I want you to do is to be able to act on those notes. Can you do that? Another thing I want you to do is to participate. So when I ask you a question, I want you to really participate. So can you do that? Yes. There's only 2 people here today, I know, but can you do that? Yes. And if I ask you questions or ask you to participate and you don't do it, then I'll just start from the beginning. No. What I like about radio mics, and now I've got my hands free, that when people don't respond, then I come down into the audience to get you. And today I've got hands free so I could get you and bring you up here with me. Would anybody like to come up here and speak? Yes? I like that. I like that there's brave people in the room. There's other people, their eyes are opening big now. There was a survey once and they said that they asked people what was their number one fear. And you know what the number one fear was? Public speaking, yeah. And death was about 5, 6 or 7. Death was all the way down there. And my mentor said to me, you know what that means? He said, that means that when you go to a funeral, you know what's coming. You go to the funeral, most people would rather be in the box than up here doing the funeral. I want you to participate today. Can you do that? I want you to ask questions today. Can you do that? I've brought my friends here today, brought some great colleagues to speak to you today. I want you to ask questions. The only silly question you're going to have is the one you don't ask. Okay? So I don't want you sitting down thinking, if I ask that question, they're going to think I'm stupid. No, I want you to ask the question. I want you to be brave. Can you do something different today? Yes. Yeah? So let's see how good you are. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about networking today. And in a room like this, in the break time, there's going to be an opportunity to network. So somebody asked me, I've got some things prepared, but let's see how well you can participate. Somebody asked me a question on networking. We got microphones ready? Say, is that microphone working? Oh, there you go.
What's your definition of networking?
My definition of networking? Definition? That's a good question. I think networking is, I'll tell you what I do with networking. I think in networking, it's being able to find people and meet people and see how you can be of value to them, be of value to each other. That's what I think good networking is. What I don't think networking is going out to find people to see who I can get something from. So that's what I would say for networking today. See how you meet people, widen your circle of friends, and see how you can be of value to other people. Good networking. Anybody else? Nobody? Marcy?
How do you introduce yourself in a group of people who are chatting away, networking, and you want to join that conversation?
Do you want my way or do you want a fun way or all right. I'll tell you one of the things that I do if you're brave. One of the things that I do, if there's people talking, I'll stand up for a while, I'll size them up, and then I'll walk over to them and I'll say, excuse me. If I was standing over there and I wanted to come and introduce myself to this group, what would you suggest that I say to you? And they start laughing. And then somebody will tell me something. But the easiest way is, first and foremost, is not to be scared. Not to be scared. I'm going to bring somebody up here in a minute. I'll tell you one thing that makes networking very, very difficult. One of the things that makes networking difficult is that the thoughts that go through your mind. And it's being able to overcome those thoughts in your head. Because the problem with networking is that you are not who you think you are. Does that make sense? You're not who you think you are. And you're not who I think you are. You're who you think I think you are. Does that make sense? Does anybody not understand that? Anybody who's you don't understand that? Do you want to come up here and I'll explain it? Come on, be brave. Give her a round of applause. Is this microphone working? You'll all be sorry you answered the question, now, it? What's your name?
Rachel.
Rachel. Okay, who's going to come up here and help Rachel? Minister Wale? Here's a microphone for you. Rachel and Minister Wale. No, so let's go through it again. You're not who you think you are. You're not who he thinks you are. You're who you think he thinks you are. And I'm going to explain it to you now. Have you met before?
Very briefly, I think you may have said hello this morning.
Meet again.
Hello, my name is Mr. Wale.
Nice to meet you. My name is Rachel.
Nice to meet you too.
So now you know each other. What do you think of him?
Seems like a pleasant fellow.
And what do you think of her?
It seems like a pleasant lady.
Okay. Now in the break, I'm going to meet you. And what would happen if I met you in the break and I said, Rachel, I was talking to Minister Wale and he said to me that you're not really a nice person. In fact, you're a little bit obnoxious and you're a little bit full of yourself. And basically he just puts up with you, but if he had his way, he would rather spend as least time with you as possible. How would you feel about that?
I'd feel offended.
You'd feel offended. Now, when you met him later on in the break, do you think it would affect the way you dealt with him?
Yes.
It would.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, if I came to you and say, Rachel, you know what? I don't know what came over me today. I was only joking. I was only joking when I said that. Now, all of the emotions you felt and all the actions that you did, were they real?
Yes.
They were real, but they were based on something that wasn't true. So you acted because of what you thought he thought about you. Is that making sense?
Yeah.
And that's how we act, because we are not who we really are. You're not who you are. You're not who he thinks you are. You're what you think he thinks you are. So as long as you're thinking he doesn't like me, he thinks I'm obnoxious, he thinks I'm full of myself, then you're going to act in a certain way. And at the end of the day, you found out it wasn't a joke, and after you tried to kill me, then you realized that, hey, it was all in my head. Is that making sense? And that's what happens to people when they're networking. You're busy standing here, and you want to go across and say hello to these people, but you're not going to go and say hello. You know why? Small voice inside of your head starts telling you things. They're going to ignore me. They're going to think I'm going to be silly. They're not going to be interested in what I'm going to say. You are busy thinking about what they're thinking of you. Give them a round of applause. So one of the things in approaching people, in meeting people today, do your very, very best not to stand there analyzing in your mind what they think of you. And one of the ways in which you can approach people, very simply, first deal with yourself. And I'll give you one more tip for networking. When you're approaching people, do your best to, just for a short while, to take away all thoughts of personal gain. Does that make sense? All thoughts of personal gain. See how you could be of value to that person.